House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has officially changed her tune on the budget reconciliation bill. You know, the very bill that she claimed she desperately wanted to pass because she cares about the children. She wants to do something for the children. Well, it turns out the children don't matter all that much, because in a private caucus meeting, Pelosi said the party must make difficult choices because the dynamics have changed and Democrats have not yet agreed to a spending level on the budget reconciliation bill, and that's according to a source familiar with this meeting. Now, I want to give you a direct quote from Nancy Pelosi. This is what she said to the Democratic caucus during this meeting last night. I told all of you that we wouldn't go on to the bipartisan infrastructure bill until we had the reconciliation bill passed by the Senate. We were right on schedule to do all of that. No, you weren't. Until 10 days ago, a week ago, when I heard the news that this number had to come down. It all changed, so our approach had to change. So look, if you're tuning in on this particular story for the first time, quick context, quick backstory. You have Biden proposing a massive piece of legislation. It includes infrastructure, both physical infrastructure and what he referred to as human infrastructure. All of the provisions that we actually care about that would materially benefit people's lives, childcare, elder care, Medicare expansion, all of that stuff, right? Mandatory paid family leave, that's all included in this massive bill along with the physical infrastructure. Then they decided, well, why don't we divvy up this bill into two separate bills, one being the corporate handout bill, that's the bipartisan legislation, and the other being the budget reconciliation bill, which the Senate theoretically could pass with a simple majority in the Senate. Well, it all ended up being a trick, at least on behalf of the moderate, or I should just say conservative Democrats, who never really had any interest in passing it. So even today, we're still at this point where the only thing that we can really rely on is progressives staying true to what they promised by blocking the bipartisan corporate handout bill. Okay, that's what corporations want, that's what conservative Democrats want, that's what Republicans want. Progressives should block it. No reconciliation bill, no bipartisan bill. That was the deal, they should stick to that.
Okay, our members speak for me. Here, Tatiana in Japan wrote in, Pelosi changes her tune. Hold my drink while I put on my surprise face. This might take a while.
Right.
But Tatiana, you apparently are being sarcastic about something that the mainstream media actually believes. They are all acting like shocked, like.
They're not acting shocked.
No, like NBC News explained it. Despite her progressive roots, Nancy Pelosi did this, which is really surprising. Is it? What progressive roots? Show me one time she sided with progressives over the corporate Democrats. Zero, never, literally never in her career. I challenge any so-called journalist in America to find me one time that she sided with progressives over conservative Democrats.
Well, okay. You know, she has progressive roots because she says she has progressive.
Well, then you should write it down.
Right?
If you're a reporter, you should write it down.
That's exactly what they do,
because
though.
the powerful has said it.
They're stenographers. They can't point to a specific example, so they just regurgitate what Nancy Pelosi says. Remember, Nancy Pelosi might not have ever fought for universal health care or Medicare for all, but she certainly has signs in her basement. This is literally something she said. Signs in her basement in support of universal health care. Oh, well, progressive roots, those are progressive. Now look, Nancy Pelosi is gonna Nancy Pelosi. Like, I'm not surprised by this at all. I've always really put most of my faith, and there's very little of it at this point, behind the progressive caucus, because they have said repeatedly that they will block the bipartisan infrastructure bill unless they get the passage of the reconciliation bill. Look, I'm gonna be clear with you guys and be 100% honest. Some people might disagree with me. I don't care about the corporate handout bill. I would prefer to not pass anything at all, because honestly, that bill, there's a reason why corporations love it. It privatizes public infrastructure, which means we're gonna deal with additional regressive taxation in the form of tolls and fees every time we use roads and bridges that currently are free to use, okay? And then there's all sorts of little like leasing opportunities for corporations, massive government grants that will be given to third parties, again, corporations to build infrastructure. It's all a way of redistributing money from the bottom to the top again and again and again. So I don't care if progressives like defeat, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, have at it. Have at it.
Guys, so you get to make your own make up your own mind about who's right and who's wrong, especially if you've been watching this show throughout this entire process. Now, we told you that there was no way they were going to get the Senate version of the $3.5 trillion bill ready in time for September 27th. That's preposterous. I said it would take them months and months. It's absurd to think that they would have gotten that ready. The second thing we told you is that Manchin and Sinema would play games and would try to block it, and they would never agree to it, and they would try to force the progressives into passing the corporate-backed one first. The corporate media believed everything that Pelosi and Biden and Schumer said, and they were like, oh no, they will support the progressives. They will do it both at the same time. Okay, now Pelosi comes out and says, I was kidding. Well, she doesn't actually. Now you saw the quote that Anna read you where she said, oh, things have changed in the last 10 days. No, but guys, we told you that it would take months. Nothing changed in the last 10 days. She says she was surprised to find out that conservative Democrats in the Senate tried to lower the $3.5 trillion number. She should be fired immediately if that's true. Now, all of you know that right there, right? I mean, even if you're the most rah-rah MSNBC, corporate Democrat, whatever it is, okay? You know that Manchin and Sinema were gonna try to lower the $3.5 trillion. You know that, right? So Pelosi didn't know that? Pelosi didn't know that? She was surprised by that, and that happened in the last 10 days, and that's why she had to change her entire stance from the Senate has to pass it first to, never mind, let's just pass the corporate-backed one, and maybe we'll give you the other one later. Okay, no.
She knew.
So either she's deeply incompetent, like knows nothing about politics, and hence should be removed as Speaker of the House instantly, right? Or she's most obviously lying. So now again, the reason I blast the media is because have you ever heard anyone in your entire life on cable news or in print say Nancy Pelosi is an obvious liar? Now I know they don't like to say, oh, that's rude. Have you ever seen anyone suggest that maybe that doesn't seem credible, that she would be surprised that conservative Democrats would want to lower $3.5 trillion. Have you ever seen Rachel Maddow say it? Yeah, I said it. Have you ever seen the New York Times say it? Like, never. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing that they're still like, oh, Nancy Pelosi, honest broker.
Cenk, it's even worse than that though, because all you get over and over and over again is coverage that makes it appear as though the only thing that corporate Democrats are motivated by is their principles or their values. Like they're still covering Joe Manchin as if he's genuinely concerned about the price tag associated with that $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. They don't in any way, do a little bit of a deep dive into the personal enrichment that Joe Manchin is concerned about losing if that bill passes, right? He doesn't want to do anything about climate change. Are you kidding me? He's making $500,000 a year off of dirty coal, personal investment. I'm not even talking about campaign contributions. They don't cover that. You have to rely on, independent outlets or places like The Intercept to cover those details, which are obviously weighing more into the decision making of corporate Democrats than anything else. One more quote from Nancy Pelosi, and then we'll get to progressives. She says, quote, "We had to accommodate the changes that were being necessitated. And we cannot be ready to say until the Senate passed the bill, we can't do bipartisan infrastructure."
But that's exactly what you said before.
That is exactly what she said before. And guess what? Progressives get to keep saying it because progressives, look, they have a different base. They aren't taking, not every progressive, right? But certainly Justice Democrats aren't taking corporate PAC money. They're not influenced by the same corrupt factors that influence these corporate Democrats. And to be sure, you have Pramila Jayapal even today making it clear that she intends to follow through on what her promise is, and so does half of the Progressive Caucus, she claims. And also, Representative Ilhan Omar did call out Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema by name. Let's hear what she had to say.
It is saddening to see them use Republican talking points. We obviously didn't envision having Republicans as part of our party. And I hope that they will understand that Democrats need to be united behind the president's agenda. And we need to have urgent conversations on how to get this agenda done.
Yeah, I mean, if it walks like a Republican, talks like a Republican. And the thing is, it's not even about Democrat versus Republican at this point. When both parties are beholden to the same corporate interests, then they're gonna act the same. And they're going to work together to defeat legislation that actually improves the lives of their own constituents. Later in the show, we'll talk about how Joe Manchin is working against the desires and the interests of his own constituents. West Virginians overwhelmingly support the budget reconciliation bill, but he doesn't care. Looking out for his own pocket.
Guys, we've been telling you this for 20 years. It's the donations. It's their bribes, they're obvious bribes. And so, and the second thing we told you is we need progressives to speak out against fellow Democrats. The problem here isn't Republicans. If the Democrats got rid of the filibuster, Republicans would have zero power, none, zero. But it's other Democrats who were negotiating with the donors. Everybody knows this except reporters. National reporters. And so, but we're fair, credit where credit is due. New York Times actually did a story on donors. It was so rare that I was like, oh, is it true? The minute I saw it online, I was like, save, favorite, like. Okay, wait, I'm like, what is this, right? An exception proves the rule because you're so shocked that the New York Times would actually tell you this, and of course they never call it corruption, they don't call it bribes, of course they wouldn't, right? But it's like they noted it for the first time I've ever seen. So Jonathan Weissman, give him credit for a good article here.
Last graphic.
Yeah, he wrote in the influential national, this is about Sinema's donors and how she's brazenly saying, here, come give me money. I'm gonna vote against taxes to save your ass. Just write me checks, write me checks. So Weissman covers it and he says, the influential National Association of Wholesale Distributors and the Grocers PAC, along with the lobbyists for roofers and electrical contractors, and a small business group called the S-Corp Political Action Committee, have invited association members to an undisclosed location for 45 minutes to write checks for between $1,000 and $5,800 payable to Sinema for Arizona.
Little afternoon delight.
Yeah.
45-minute session, get it in.
Yeah,
That's
a little bribe sesh, right? And it's like an auction. Like, come on, electrical engineers and not engineers, electricians, guys, plumbers, whoever you need, corporations, it doesn't matter. Come give money to Senator Sinema. She's up for sale. Oh, can I see 1,000? Can I 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000? But this is our politics. Out and out bribery. Right in the middle of the voting, not the voting, but the crafting of the legislation. And she says, I will kill any tax cut for corporations, any tax increase for the rich. And they're like, okay, great, let's write her checks. Okay, good job, here's your bribe. She takes the bribe. And for the first time ever, the mainstream media has noted it. They're like, oh, that's curious. Right. It's not curious, it's the whole shebang. It's everything about politics. And if you're a reporter out there and you're an editor and you're not covering the corporate donations to politicians, you're embarrassing. Go get another profession. That's the #1 factor by a landslide. And you guys are part of helping the powerful keep their power by ignoring the actual politics in America. But again, credit to Jonathan Weissman and the New York Times for running this story. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.